Today I'm gonna customize IDW Mikey made by Best Action, but I'm gonna make them better, I think, I hope. Maybe, we'll see. So I'm starting with the black and white figure, well, the gray figure with the orange bandana. And I put them in some recently boiled water. I left them there for a few minutes and then I take them apart as much as I can. Well, more than I wanted to, but I put that part back together. I really just wanted to get the belt off, and the hands and the head, they would have came off without the water, but why not? Putting it in anyway, so it makes it easier. Now I have Apoxie Sculpt, and it's a two-part epoxy clay. Yeah, and you mix the two parts together and then it becomes like clay, and then it takes about 24 hours to dry. But usually after like 16 it's good, depending how much you're using. So I'm using some silicone tools, and I've wet it a little bit and then use it to just smooth everything out after I put a little piece on at a time. And it's small, but I'm sculpting, first the beak and then the chin and then the cheek. Now for nunchucks, I try to put a little bit of Apoxie Sculpt on the tip of little pieces of wood that I cut. They were barbecue skewers, bamboo skewers, but it doesn't like to stick to wood or to like shiny plastic, and I'm using twist ties, and they were more flat twist ties. Well, I mean, they were more of an oval than a round one. With a round one I would just drill a hole and glue it in. But now I'm sanding the faces that I sculpted with a nail file, and so I'll try some other stuff with those nunchucks, but it doesn't like to stick to wood, and also after like half an hour of working with the stuff, it would rather stick to my fingers than to whatever I'm trying to stick it onto. Now I'm covering everything with a thin coat of matte acrylic varnish, and that's going to work as my primer. The main reason I wanted to use these black and white ones is because I don't have to put a coat of primer. They're gray and black and white, and the Apoxie Sculpt is gray, so it automatically matches, and just a thin clear coat will get it all ready for paint. I have a cinnamon brown that I'm going in all the shell, the plastron, the side shell, the back shell, but mostly I'm trying to go really dark in the cracks, at least on the front shell there, or undershoot, or plastron, or whichever one you want to say. I always have trouble picking which one is going to come out of my mouth, and then I just pause for a second and then I cut it out later when I'm editing. But because it's different shades of gray, the same color brown looks a little different on each area that I put it on. I'm going to add more layers, but that's just to start off. I'm also going around all the pads because they're gray right now and they're going to be brown. I'm going to add a different brown as well, but just getting them started. And while I have the brown on the brush, I also dry brush a little bit on all the wraps because they're white, but I want to dirty them up, and just getting them started with the cinnamon brown. Now I'm going with the black wash just in all the wraps because that's gonna get down in all the deeper spots and then stay darker and blacker. It's just water and black acrylic paint. And I also get those nunchuck handles, I guess you would call it. Why not? This is a bark brown, so it's a satin finish, and this is the one I'm using for all the belts and belt accessories and pads. Yes, knee pads and elbow pads, because the satin shine kind of gives it a leathery look. So I'm covering everything with that, and make sure you get the back of the pads, and even where it wasn't dark gray, because you gotta make it look realer, I guess. Now I have a raw sienna, and I'm dry brushing it over all of his plastron first, and then I'll go to the side shells and then the back shell, and then I'm not going to have anything to say because I already said that I was going to do it. Now I can say something interesting. I can't think of anything, but I'm dry brushing over all the shells, and I also dry brush a little on the pads because the matte will look like, because the raw sienna is a matte color, so on top of the satin color it'll just look like scratches and grime. Now I'm doing all the same spots but with a light dry brush of daffodil yellow, so that's going to really pick up on all the edges and make everything pop pop out more, but I'm only doing a little bit. Then I go back to the raw sienna and I'm dry brushing that over the plastron again, because I just want it a little more orangey, and it's going to be brighter when it picks up on the spots that were yellow as opposed to the spots that were brown or already raw sienna. I have a Sahara gold, just because Sahara, like the desert, but gold. And that's just the gold that was nearest to me when I looked out for it, and I just did the buttons and little buckles on his belt. Now, a new tactic for these nunchucks, I have a thin suede lace, and I glue that and wrap it around, so half of it's glued and half it's sticking up, and I put the, twist tie glued in there, but I don't know if it's gonna work. So I sanded lightly and then painted brown the nunchucks it came with. I had to sand them first because if I'm gonna add paint, they already were very hard to get into his hands, so I need them skinnier. That's the main reason I made my own nunchucks, because I need them to fit in his hands, and after I paint his hands they're going to be even thicker, so it'll be harder for that nunchucks that he came with to fit in. And the bamboo skewer is maybe 2/3 the thickness of the ones he came with. So I have a hunter green, and I'm going on the skin, but I'm really just getting into all the like cracks and definition and stuff, and doing a light coat on everywhere else if it happens. And with that hunter green, I mixed in a little bit of turquoise to get Mikey's color, which is a little bit on the bluer side of the greens. He's the most blue out of all of them, but he's also the happiest. But sometimes we put on a big smile when we're the most blue. Well, that's just his color. But I went with a light turquoise and a bright turquoise because I want to get kind of the same effect I got with Leo, which I made last week, with a light color going dry brushing and leaving the dark in all the cracks and crevices. But because the color was so close, it didn't really have the same effect. He has a gray tongue and I want it to be a red tongue, so I carefully get in his mouth with some deep red and paint his tongue. Now I have a hot saffron for my orange. It's like a bright, vibrant orange, and I'm going over his mask because I want it to be a little brighter, and I might have smudged it a bit, and now it kind of matches the color of the back of the bandana because the front was lighter. Also, when I had the extra Apoxie Sculpt out, I made a bunch of shapes, but I made a bunch of little balls that I just dry brushed with some orange because I don't want them 100% orange. I want them kind of a smoky orange and gray because they're smoke bombs. And I took off his pockets, or the pouches that were on the front, because nothing he has fits in those pouches. That's where the smoke bombs are going to go. Now I'm covering everything with another coat of the matte acrylic varnish just to seal everything up. And I had to get the nunchucks I made ready for paint because they're going to get some paint, but everything else is just getting sealed. And so now I have silver that I'm going over the black part of the nunchucks because in the comics they're silver, or at least those parts of the nunchuck are silver. And off camera I had painted the shafts brown, but just with cinnamon brown. This is the bark brown because I'm going to put these straps, that's just suede lace, and first I glue down the pouches that I took off that were right on the front. I put them on the sides, and I need to get the size right, so first I acrylic varnish the nunchucks so that they don't scratch, because over the plastic it'll be easy to scratch when I start bending them, because since they're twist ties you can bend them into shape and they'll stay in whatever shape you want. So I have those other weapons in the back, and then the straps on the side, on the front, that I put for the nunchucks to go in the front, and he has the smoke bombs on the side, and that's the battle ready version of Mikey from Best Action, and then my Mikey on the right. It's pretty close, but my face looks, I think, a little more like the comic books, and my colors are a little closer to the comic books, but that's the alternate face. No, that's the face we were already looking at. Now those are the alternate faces. He had a winking face. I didn't really like it, so I made it like just slightly winking, so you still see some of the white because it looked funny. But next week's going to be a little different, but also IDW. So until then, remember, always keep your head up. Peace.